Hello everybody and welcome to Pravus Gaming and Civilization Rising Tide, playing as the NSA. We're marching forward with our tanks and all manner of other awesome things. Don't even care about that little guy, I don't even know what kind of unit it was, but I just rolled right over it. A striker, apparently. Whatever it is, they all die the same. They all sound the same. The same thunk-thunk sound as I run them over. Which is a little bit morbid, I suppose, when I think about it, but nonetheless, it is kind of funny. Alright. Anyway, so, we are pushing for our militaristic victory. I believe that our nano drone is about to kill off this striker here. I don't know how many hit points they have, but it looks like very, very little. Although this guy could, instead of waiting on his nano clouds, just march forward and automatically kill it. That would also be a pretty good option, so... We're going to keep marching our units down around over here. All we have to do is grab Central. Nothing else matters. Grab Central, and the game is going to be over before it really had a chance to begin. And by that, I'm literally saying this game was too short. Like, really, think about it. We're up to turn 242. We've gotten, like, barely even half the technology in this game. I mean, like, there's so many more branch technologies that we could be doing. So many that we have missed. And yet, the game is already about to come to a close. And I'll give you my exact thoughts on that later, but it's been a fun game, and you may think that 20 episodes is no joke, but in the grand scheme of things, on a slightly higher than normal difficulty, on a regular speed game, this is going by pretty quickly, and I'm honestly a little disappointed by that. Alright, we got some veterancy for our savages. It's fine. Let's march forward and squish your strikers down. Again, thunk thunk. We'll send our savages straight to the front lines. Get these nano hives out of the way. Send the centaurs up toward the front line so they can get some bombardment in, even though they're still a little on the weak side, and I kind of wish that I had been able to upgrade them to the next tier. You still need to set up for ranged attacks. That's how bad you are. I can't stand it when they have that. They have technology that, artillery that still needs to set up. I mean, we haven't even reached the equivalent of rocket artillery in this game yet. And we're about to end it. Either I've played brilliantly, or this game is still a little bit on the easy side if you have any semblance of what you are doing. Alright. Dongye. Why don't you build an angel? Because apparently we got more Faraxite, so you can do that, I suppose. And this tiny little city can build a feed site hub or something. Does it matter at this point in the game? Not really. And the angels, since they're only able to move 2 tiles at a time, are so slow that it's kind of irrelevant. Eintracht is starving, are they? That's sad. It looks like that striker did die, so this nanohive has officially worn out its use. Let's go ahead and start moving the wraths down this direction. Pravus's wrath approaches. Quake and fear, pack. Quake and fear. Alright, next turn. We're actually getting really close to our... Yeah, we're actually right now about to get our next virtue already. Good God. We really hit, like, the jackpot in culture in this turn for some reason. This game, I should say. This campaign. We've just gotten an absolute freaking ton. I'm not really sure what we did differently that made that happen, but we did. We totally did. Any local defensive stuff? I mean, we can't build it outside of our own territory, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Alright, you just go home, little buddy. You go on, get. Go home. Go home. Alright. This little savage will pop up over here. This little centaur will pop up over here. You're already set up and... Oh, wow, you've taken a lot of damage, haven't you? Pillage, do some damage. Shoot him, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. The city is almost dead already. Less maintenance for units? Wow, 50% quantity from sources of strategic resources. That would, like, give us an extra 50% Faraxite, yes? Brutal efficiency is good. The Might Tree is actually really good. I've underestimated this thing. A lot, actually. I kind of like it. This is making me rethink my playstyle just a teensy-weensy bit for future Civ BE games. Let's go ahead and park the Wraths as close to pack as possible. Their doom very fastly approaches. Keep the vortexes in reserve so they can do some melee damage to the city when we do declare war. Everyone go on alert. There we go. Change production. We'll do a Xeno Sanctuary, I suppose. That is fine. We failed to steal science. Seems kind of irrelevant, but okay. So go ahead and waste your last turn. You want to surrender to me. You will give me Vanguard.
Blood of nations.
Does not work for me because I want to kill you. You don't understand. I want you dead. It's not a question of whether I gain more cities. I'm okay if you burn them all to the ground as long as you are dead. That is my end goal. Until you make me an offer where you kill yourself, I will not take you seriously. Go on alert. Let's take our Centaur. Pew. Come on. You're not set up yet. Sorry. Set up. Pew. Kill. Also heal. Stop it. Stop pulling me around. Take the city. Create a puppet. You've lost your capital. Good. Let's go to diplomacy. Oh good, I've changed my aesthetic a little bit. Previously I looked a bit harmonious. Now I have these silly looking things on my shoulder. What even are these? What's the purpose? Are those supposed to be regal? Are they supposed to look cool? Because they just make you look dumb. Well, apparently you also went for supremacy. I hear you talking, but I don't see your mouth moving. Are you a ventriloquist? Also, you are borderline terrified of me. That's fun. We're going to go ahead and declare war. Bam, we were cooperative, and now we hate you. Hope you enjoyed that. Alright. Ah! No! Everyone go on alert. Stop it. Trade convoy. We can't trade with Tiangong anymore. So we'll trade with our little tiny city or outpost that's never going to have a chance to grow up into a big city. And that is the real tragedy, isn't it? Build improvements. Can we declare peace with you? Ark.
Hola. How can I help you?
Let us end this conflict. Give me Vanguard. Also, give me your ballistics and defense grid technology. I like this war score. You really can calculate a lot of cool stuff, but we'll do this. Thank you. End that war. We've gained 2 technologies. Create a puppet, and now you are reduced to a 1-city minor. In the meantime, look at this glorious navy. Oh, it's so awesome. We're gonna have to bombard these little guys out of the way, aren't we? Yes. Yes, we are. Let's pop you down over here. Hit you. And the game should be over, yes?
In the annals of history,
the
great mistake will forever be seen as a terrible and glorious war, which damaged our homeworld beyond repair.
Uh-huh.
In this, history is wrong. The mistake was not the war. It was our belief that we could start over. That when faced with mutual destruction, there could be peace between nations. It is only now, many years later, and halfway across the universe, that we see the truth. There is only one path to peace, and it must be walked alone.
Well, that's downright depressing now, isn't it? I wonder if they change the final cinematic there based on what your highest affinity is. I don't know if it was a coincidence that it was supremacy, or not. Maybe not. Unfortunately, in Civilization Beyond Earth, you don't get the final map mode where you guys see, you know, a timeline of the game and how you expanded, so that's not actually going to be an option. Alright. Well, that finishes our campaign with Rising Tide, so I guess now we come to the part of the series where I have to sit down and give my thoughts about the expansion, and what it did well, and what it did wrong. Ultimately, Rising Tide is fun, certainly. Does it add a lot to the game? Yes. It doesn't ruin the game, it doesn't detract from the overall experience, it definitely enhances it. But it does not solve a lot of the issues that I had with Civilization Beyond Earth itself. And I'm not really sure what Firaxis can do about this, to be honest, except for just tweaking some numbers, making certain technologies less accessible. You know, it takes more turns to get these things, or they're hidden under different branches and stuff. I don't know what Firaxis can do, but the game definitely needs some more balancing. Civilization Beyond Earth was a really cool idea to me because it encouraged an asymmetric playstyle. I mean, the 3 affinities, for instance, are 3 totally different concepts of what human evolution could look like. You know, do we stay true to our roots and become pure humans and follow the purity path? Do we seek to embrace our new home world and become one with the planet and its culture and whatever, the existing life and become harmonious? Do we seek to evolve technologically and enhance ourselves? That's 3 really interesting concepts of how humanity could evolve in the future. Whereas Civilization 5, you had to follow a very specific historical path. All civilizations ultimately went for the same technologies, just in slightly different orders, some faster than others. I mean, that's all it is. It's one giant race to who can get to the modern era the fastest. In Civilization Beyond Earth, just look at the science web. You are encouraged to go in several different directions. Each civilization is going to have completely different technologies than the other based on their priorities. And that's a really cool idea, I think. But as far as how it is executed, there, I think, are kind of clearly some flaws, and we've managed to prove that in this playthrough. So, by turn 200-something or whatever, we win the game. We researched maybe half of the technology. I mean, there was a lot to go. You saw this. There was a lot of technology still to research. And it's not that I expected to have to research every single one before the end of the game. I'm not trying to marathon it. But my point is, there was still a lot more expansion we could have done, and yet, about 100 turns ago, we were just raffle-stomping the AI. And I think a lot of that ended up coming down to the hybrid affinity units. Hybrid affinities are really cool in concept. They really are. I like it. I want to see them stay in the game, but I think they might be a little bit overpowered currently. Because don't forget, we had some regular ground tanks, and then we upgraded within like 2 or 3 turns from Tier 1 to Tier 3, levitating super tanks that could just run over the enemy all day long. I mean, we've had that technology for a really long time. If I wanted to be aggressive, theoretically, I could have pushed for a militaristic victory a long time ago. And that just sort of proves to me the power of affinity units. And in fact, the fact that affinity military victories or just affinity victory conditions are the way to win the game just tells me once again that the science spam strategy reigns supreme even in Rising Tide. It's all about getting that science. Whichever civilization can get the most science is going to win the game. Probably. 9 times out of 10. Science spam will win. Now, of course, obviously you need to go for food and production in order to support enough of a city so that you can take advantage of your science buildings more quickly. I mean, yeah, there's obviously some strategy to how quickly can you min-max and get your science buildings and up your science production levels, but still, that's what it comes down to. It's not about your culture. Culture is just to enhance your civilization, make you better at what you do. Warfare, growing, science, production. But that's it. Where in Civilization 5, there were cultural victories. There was actually a real point to culture. You could win with going for culture. Not so much in this game. It is still all about the science. Rush for that victory condition, go for harmony. You need to research these 3 really high-level technologies. Okay, well, the best way to do that, get tons of science as quickly as you can. Or you don't want to wait for a victory condition? Fine. Go for as many affinity levels as you can so you have such a technological advantage that you just annihilate everybody. Like we did. We annihilated the AI. And we weren't playing on easy difficulty either. I mean, you saw this. We weren't playing, on normal difficulty. We were just one step above that. So that would be what? Roughly Prince level in Civilization 5? Something like that. But either way, it wasn't easy, it wasn't super hard, but it shouldn't have to be on the highest levels of difficulty to even present a little bit of a challenge, and these AIs did not present any challenge at all. So I don't know, I think we need some tweaking there. It's a good idea, but it's unbalanced, I think. We just utterly annihilated it. Some other things that Civilization Rising Tide did. Diplomacy. I like the diplomacy changes a lot. I think that's actually probably my favorite aspect to the game. I think that's one of my favorite changes. I think the diplomatic capital concept is really fun. I think agreements really encourage relationship with other civilizations. I think that's great. Previously, there was really no good reason to be friendly with anybody. You didn't want to get called into wars. Rarely would you want to encourage an AI to get into a war on your behalf, but you could just bribe them. There just wasn't much point to being a good ally. In this game, you actually seek cooperation in order to take advantage of better agreements. And you do that with a very good, well-balanced out diplomatic capital system. You do it with your personality traits, which I think, by the way, our strategy for rushing out the best possible traits worked out very well in our favor. I mean, we ended up having a ton of diplomatic capital. We didn't even know what to do with it. Had we left all of those civilizations alive and not killed them, we could have had a ton of agreements and been just rolling in bonuses. So I think it's a good idea, and I don't think that really needs much tweaking. I like it. So kudos to you, Firaxis. Rising Tide adds something pretty cool. The other major change in the game really is the aquatic cities, I think. And I'm going to be honest, I find them very underwhelming. Very underwhelming, actually. Keep in mind, for this entire playthrough, we played as the NSA. We had a 50% production reduction in moving our cities around. Okay, so keep that in mind. Everything else is slower. And because there is that 3-tile working radius, I don't know. It means that you can't really float your city around as much as you want to. You still want to create a circular pattern around your aquatic city, and you have to move your city around to do that. It's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of turns, it's going to take a lot of production or a lot of energy to buy the tiles, whereas previously, if you had just settled on a land continent, you know, and just let the borders expand passively, you would have gotten the same thing, but for no effort and no production. And if you wanted to buy the tiles, you could still do that. So, I don't know. I really don't see much point in the aquatic cities. I really don't, unless you want to build some aquatic wonders. You know, there are specific aquatic buildings, but I just don't see the point. I really don't. I think land cities are just as good and easier to manage. That's really what it comes down to. They're still easy. They don't take as much work. They don't take as much planning out. And they'll end up having about the same bonuses. In the future, what I think I would do is probably focus on my continent first, take up all the land, and then if I feel desperate to continue to expand, or I see a concentration of strategic resources that I really want, then I would consider expanding out onto the ocean, but that would not be my first choice. I just don't see the point. It's really cool in concept, and the ocean and everything they did graphically is beautiful, but that's kind of it. Aquatic cities need to have their working radius bumped up to 4, so that you can create some really weird borders. You can create long, thin borders from moving your city around. It doesn't need to be a giant circular pattern. Otherwise, what's the point of a floating city? You float it around to create your circle and then plop it in the center like a spider built its web and then just sits in the center. And that's it. What's the point of the floating, moving cities? You might as well just have had them expand their borders on their own. I don't know. I like the concept. I think it's cool. And it doesn't detract from the game. Again, I can't, with all these criticisms, these don't take away from the game. They just don't fix the problems that already exist. And they're just not unique enough to really make Civilization Beyond Earth that great. Civilization 5 is still better, in my opinion. But some people might disagree with that. And if you do, go ahead and say why in the comments. I would like to hear it. I really would. But that's pretty much all my thoughts in Civilization Rising Tide. I did have fun. I did have fun playing it, there's no doubt. So I don't want to hit the game too much. I am being critical, I know that. But, you know, it does need some changes before I would consider adding this to my regular routine on this channel. Alright guys, well, that has been the end of this series. If you enjoyed, then I hope you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. Tell me what your thoughts are on the game. And tell me what you would like to see me play next, whether that's more Civilization Beyond Earth, Civ 5, or something else. I just would like to get some more feedback, because, you know, I've got more stuff I can add on to my recording schedule, so let me know. Alright, my name has been Pravus, and I will see you guys next time.